Welcome back to the 12 Talk podcast. My name is Josh, and with me as always, my podcasting partner in crime, Mitch. How you doing, Mitch? You all right?
All good, mate. You good?
Yeah, good, mate. Good. Well, we've got a very special pod for people today. We have got a fantastic Seahawks content creator who made some time for us just before he ran out the door to get to OTAs. Mr. HAWKBLOGGER himself. We've got Brian Nemhauser, who's going to be coming on to talk with us all about his opinions on the roster, his two favourite rookies so far, any standout UDFAs. Are there any surprise cut candidates or controversial cut candidates and key position battles? But before we get into that, as most people know, we are the UK Seahawkers official podcast, and we're very proud to be that. You can join the UK Seahawkers for as little as £12 a year for an individual membership, £20 for a family membership of up to 4 people at the same address. All you have to do, you can pay by PayPal. You get access to social events, which we had the pleasure of going to a couple of weeks ago. You get 10% discount at the Pro Shop. You could be eligible for game day field passes, access to members-only competitions, and much, much more, like these goodies, kind of displayed on Mitch's box. So this year we got our coasters, you get your wristband as well. We got our 21-year anniversary patch, and you also get your membership card as well. So if you haven't joined, you can be like all these amazing people in this photo. You can join. This was taken at the meetup in Glasgow. Oh, look, Mitch, I've just noticed that you're not quite smiling in that one. I might have to edit that.
Never smiling.
And then just a couple of snapshots from we do have one where you are smiling. Just wait and see. There you go. Look at that. And Mitch has just commissioned a lovely bit of artwork for us as well, which we'll be putting up on our socials. So we also are very proud to represent the Robbing Cancer Trust. This man wearing the giant testicles is Toby. He is the chairman of the Robbing Cancer Trust. He's running 500 kilometers dressed as a ball bag with a goal to save lives. Check out the Robbing Cancer Trust on their website, www.robbingcancertrust.org, and you can find out all about Toby's challenge. His aim is to raise awareness and £240,000 for life-saving initiatives to help spread the word and raise awareness for germ cell and ovarian cancer. And a new thing for him, he is running 500 kilometers dressed as that ball bag. That is Hadrian's Wall. He's running as well. Look at that. He is running the whole length of Hadrian's Wall.
Balls to the wall.
There is literally balls to the wall. And fair play to Toby. He is doing more than you or I could do, and many other people. So, with that in mind, we want to say thank you very much to everyone who supports us. If you are joining in for the first time, by all means, you can subscribe, and hit the notification bell. It really helps us. You can find us on YouTube, Spotify, Apple, Amazon. You can leave us a review on any of those. It really helps get our reach out there and helps us talk to more 12s. And if you want to talk to 12s from all around the world, you can join our Discord. Master of the Discord is this man here, Discord King, and we have got 12s from all over the world, and we're constantly talking Seahawks with OTAs here. They're here. We are going to be talking more about that, throwing in some little bit of hyperbole, talking all about who could stand out, who we're looking forward to watching as well. But apart from that, Mitch, I think we should get on to speak to Brian, because it was a fantastic chat. And if you're with me, should we hit the theme music and then get straight into it? Nice. Welcome back to the 12 Talk podcast, and with us our very special guest, Mr. HAWKBLOGGER himself, Brian Nemhauser. Brian, how are you doing?
I'm doing well, Josh. Nice to be on with you and Mitch. First time.
Yeah, it's an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for taking up, giving up some of your time. So I know you have to go very, very soon. Well, in a little bit of time, because you're going to OTAs, aren't you?
Yeah, I'm looking forward to getting eyes on the guys today. It's a beautiful day here in Seattle, and so the whole week's supposed to be nice. And we only get to see them 3 times, I think, before training camp, and it's today, Wednesday, and Thursday. So looking forward to being out there, seeing the guys, and also getting a chance to talk to some of the players and coaches this week. So it should be good.
Oh, awesome. I mean, you've had some big developments over sort of the last week. I know you dropped it in, I believe it was one of your HAWKBLOGGER morning pods the other day, that you are starting a ticket exchange, which I believe is in the sort of final parts now, isn't it?
Yeah. I'm glad you heard about that. I mean, we all were pretty bummed to see how many opposing fans were coming into Lumen Field last year. And I think it's a point of pride for all Seahawks fans about what kind of home field advantage Seattle's had for forever. And one of the things that I just haven't found anybody able to solve is there's a lot of Seahawks fans that want to sell their tickets to other Seahawks fans. In fact, they'd give better prices. They'd do a lot of things that they knew they were selling to a Seahawks fan. And there's just no way to control that. So I'm starting the HB ticket exchange. I'm going to launch it in the next few days, just putting the last little bits together, and it will allow people to kind of come together as a Seahawks community to sell tickets, to buy tickets, and put a lot of time into kind of figuring out safe ways to do that, without getting scammed. And I'm really hopeful. I'm hopeful it's helpful. Last year I did a kind of a manual version of that, and we were able to, get hundreds of tickets sold to Seahawks fans. So I'm hoping that we can get thousands this year. Would be really great.
Well, I wish you all the best with that, because I think it's a fantastic initiative. It's, as we said off wax, as UK Seahawkers, for us to get tickets, sometimes we have to go through loopholes. With us being part of the booster chapter, there are sort of tickets that can be allocated, but knowing there's going to be somewhere where we can go would be fantastic. And if obviously we want to come into the ticket exchange, how do we go about that?
Well, check out hawkblogger.com. I will post in the next few days when it's ready to launch. The link to it, it'll be, I already know the URL, but I'm not going to share it yet because it's not quite ready. I got to get some legal stuff figured out in the next day, and then it'll be ready. And I'll also post it on Twitter. I'll post it all over the place. So once it's ready, just check that out. Follow me at HAWKBLOGGER on YouTube, all those places, and I'll be talking about it and sharing. I'll probably do a little demo of it this week once it's ready to launch.
Oh, awesome. Looking forward to seeing that.
We'll make sure as well our Discord has an area for that as well, dedicated, so all of our community have got it, readily accessible there and reminded of it.
Awesome. Well, having a Discord handle is part of the way to be a little bit more trusted on this exchange. So it's great that you guys have a Discord.
Oh, nice. Awesome. Well, shall we get down to the reason we've invited you onto the pod?
Yeah.
You've very, very graciously given us some of your time. We've got a few topics we wanted to go over, and I'll start with the first one. There's been a lot of change and a lot of sort of roster churn, with sort of Gino going out, with Sam Darnold coming in, various other bits and sort of pieces. What's your opinion on the roster at the moment, sort of as it stands?
Yeah, it's obviously a multi-layered question. If you look at overall, I think that this roster has the potential to be a better group of players than the one that they had last year. But if you look at it a little bit more atomically, the defense is in really good shape. A lot of the same guys, a lot of the same starters that played really well. Plus, you've added guys like Nicky Manwari. There's a wild card out there in Riley Mills, who is probably a top 50 player before he got hurt. You got him in the 5th round. Whenever he comes back, he could be a big boost. DeMarcus Lawrence. So there's a lot of interesting stuff. Defense, I think there's still probably additions they're going to make on defense, but we'll find out. And then offensively, it's a huge change. So I think I'm optimistic. The way I kind of see it is, I don't know that it's more talented on offense than it was a year ago, but I think it's going to be more cohesive, and I think it's going to be more effective. And I think the bar is pretty low for that to how the offense performed last year.
Yeah, I like that. I like that. The way I'm looking at it is, like you, perhaps not more talented, perhaps even slightly less in some areas, but I think it's fit for purpose and it's built for purpose. It feels like there's a buy-in to what Kubiak wants to do, and he's got the toolbox, a bit like Mike Mack was trying to assemble last year with his defense. This looks like it's built to do what it's trying to do.
I think that's a great point, Mitch. It's not just the players. This is really the first year Mike Macdonald's going to have had a chance to truly pick who he wants to run that offense and the style of offense. And he's had a year to kind of know what he wants. I remember for a year ago when I was first talking to him and I'd ask him about offense, he kind of was like, that's not my area of expertise, and he'd defer a lot. Now he's like, he knows what he wants. He doesn't know it necessarily as much as Pete Carroll, who had been doing it for decades and figured out what was working and not working. But I think he's starting to come up with that philosophy that led to the hire of Clint Kubiak and all the offensive line coaches and other things, and then the personnel to match. So I think you're right. I think that's part of what I mean by cohesive. It just feels like this is a group that is going to come together in a way that maybe last year's group didn't have a chance to.
Like it seems to be a game plan going forward. I think we said on the pod, short yardage, run heavy in offense, just with a lot of the outside zone, allowing our sort of running backs to do what they do best. People like Ken Walker getting to the outside and using his physicality and his speed. And then you've got the plethora of other running backs as well, and these wide receivers, which I was listening to your pod just an hour ago. And I think you hit a lot of things on the head there as well. I think Torrey Horton's going to be really exciting to watch. But as we've just gone on to rookies there, as a segue, Mitch, I think you've got the next question, haven't you, sir?
Yeah, so with all the new acquisitions with our roster this offseason, were there two standout rookies or favorite rookies of yours that we picked up?
Yeah, I mean, it's when I listen to shows and someone gets a question like that, if they answer with the first two picks, it's like, that's such a lame answer. I love the later round picks a lot of times, and I'll give you a third beyond the first two just to make sure I'm not that guy. But I absolutely, my two favorite players in this draft that I wanted for the Seahawks were Gray Zabel and Nicky Manwari. Like I was on them from the combine on. I was on Gray Zabel from Senior Bowl on, and so I think those two guys are just, either one of them could have been the first pick for the Seahawks, and it would have been a great pick. To get both of them was well beyond what I thought was possible. But beyond that, I'll give you a lesser pedigree player. I think Bryce Cabledew is going to be a guy that could push for starting reps. I haven't seen him in pads. I got a lot left to see there. I've seen him in college in pads, but I think this guy is really advanced for his development, and I think he's a perfect fit for this scheme. I really, really like Bryce Cabledew.
I didn't see that coming. Interesting. I think also he's quite a good fit for the kind of O-line we expect us to have as well. I think when you look at some of the more established guards, people like Bradford, they are square peg, round hole in this system. Some packages that, where you want to get big up front and move people, perhaps he goes in, but Bryce Cabledew is going to be the right fit for 80% of snaps, I think, stylistically. So it's interesting that you said that one, but yeah, really talented player, and also came in on visits. They were obviously really high on him as a character as well. So
yeah, good. he was making the rounds for people that run this scheme, and he was a guy that I had Dane Brugler on my show. I had Ryan Fowler, a bunch of other people, and Bryce Cabledew came up before the draft. And I mean, honestly, I was talking about him at the VMAC during the draft, during the live show in the 4th round on as a possibility, and to get him in, what was it, the 6th round? I mean, I think was just a great pick. I think Mason Richmond has a chance to be a better player than people realize as well, but I'm not going to go crazy with the 7th round pick, making an impact first year.
Well, he had the 6th highest pass block win rate right, in college in the first 6 weeks of this season, and then he dropped down. But I think at one point he was up there, and the names above him all went rounds 1 to 3. So he showed it in flashes last year just how good he can be. So fascinating pick late, that one.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's going to be, I think one of the funny stories this year for the Seahawks could be, what if the Seahawks offensive line's good? What if it's one of the better parts of the team? And I think, I don't think anybody outside of Seattle is thinking that's even a remote possibility. I wouldn't say I'm expecting it, but I think there's at least a 50-50 chance. Like I think that this is the best chance the Seahawks have had in at least 5 years to have a good offensive line. I think the right pieces are there. So we'll see if that looks like a silly take a few months from now.
Time will tell. We always hold that hope for a better offensive line, and based on like you said, with the coaches we've brought in, with the scheme that we're running, they seem to have picked players fit for purpose, which I only hope the proof is there on the field that they become effective. Because giving someone like Darnold or any of our running backs or even the wide receivers to be able to influence a game by having that protection, I think will be invaluable to this team. So with regards to the rookies, obviously you've not been to OTAs yet, but are there any UDFAs that made you raise an eyebrow as a standout?
Yeah, there's a few actually. I mean, I think that there. I'll give you the one that like I hadn't known about before I got there that caught my attention. I'll give you two guys that fit that bill. One was Isis Waxter, who is a cornerback from Villanova, 6'2", 215 pounds, and he is really interesting. Everyone's talking about Zy Alexander because he has a LSU background, so everyone's like knows that. But Waxter's like Leslie Frazier was working with him one-on-one, liked what he saw. I thought did pretty well during rookie minicamp. So he's one. Another one that I am probably unreasonably intrigued by is Nick Callerup, who is a 6'5", 270-pound tight end. And this guy was one of the better run blocking tight ends in college football last year for Minnesota, a known physical football team. He is huge. And I think the potential, if Eric Saubert is the guy that people expect because they signed him as a vet, he's played in this offense. He's kind of to be that blocking tight end role. If AJ Barner's kind of the mix between blocking and receiving, and Elijah Arroyo, Noah Fant are more of the stretch tight ends, Saubert's kind of the physical guy, the heavy. I think Nick Callerup has a chance to knock him off, depending on how he plays in this camp, and so he's a guy I would keep an eye on. The other one I would just share. I need to see him, in 1v1s and other stuff, but Amari Kite, who is the left tackle, played at Alabama for a few years before moving down to, I think, UCF. He is a big man, and obviously an elite athlete to be recruited and playing at Alabama. I don't think he's likely to make the roster, but he could be a guy that could push for practice squad. He's definitely got the athletic profile to be on that list. I mean, other people are going to talk about Jared Ivey. I'm interested in Jared Ivey. I'm not as interested in other people because I think his physical profile is not quite as intriguing to me. His ceiling doesn't seem to be quite as high, but we'll see. We'll see how he looks once the pads come on and whether he's moving people around.
And that's what it all boils down to. When the pads are on, it's all well and good being in sort of the underwear Olympics.
Yeah.
But when the pads come on, that's when you see the physicality of a player, the intent, and I will be taking notes of all of those and watching with great interest now.
Absolutely. I mean, it is a celebratory day when the pads come on the first time and you can actually see 1v1s and you feel the difference in the intensity in practice. And look, Gray Zabel, for example, he made himself a lot of money in the Senior Bowl with pads on. And if there'd not been a Senior Bowl, if there'd only been combine where no pads and no hitting, I don't know that Gray Zabel goes anywhere close to where he went in this draft. So it matters. It matters not just to us, but to the coaches and to the people that are evaluating these guys.
Yeah, I think as anyone who's played a contact sport, a day of training without contact is like a day without sunshine. So you can go out and be like, brilliant, it's training today. And then they go, and we're doing fitness drills. Every person, regardless of how fit you are or how much of a gym bunny you are, is going to go, oh, I just want to hit something. That's why I play the sport. So I'm excited to see whatever comes out about sort of OTAs and everything, just to see who is actually showing up with those pads on.
So,
absolutely.
Time for some controversy. So, surprise cut candidate or controversial cut candidate? Is there someone on the roster, perhaps a fan favorite, someone that's been there for a while, that you think might get edged out by the new rookie class? May not make the 53. Who's at risk?
Yeah, that's an interesting one. I mean, it depends on what you would think of as surprise. That's the challenge of that question.
Mm-hmm.
I think there is an outside chance that Marquez Valdes-Scantling doesn't make the roster. I think, I don't expect that to happen, but let's paint a picture where Torrey Horton really is emerging and looking like he needs to get snaps. Let's paint a picture where Jake Bobo, who was a very good player in his rookie season, but took a meaningful step back last year, maybe he takes a step forward into this offense as a good fit. Maybe Cody White, maybe Ricky White. Like, there's some interesting names there that could step forward. And if Marquez Valdes-Scantling, who's been a bit of a journeyman, if he looks more like that player than the one he did for Clint Kubiak, where he was really an outstanding big play threat in the 7 games he started with them, then maybe he doesn't make the roster. I think that's like an outside possibility. Maybe if I'm looking around, another one that I think might surprise some people would be Kenny McIntosh. So Kenny McIntosh, when he got in last year, played really well. And I think he's also a really good fit for this scheme, the outside zone. But Damian Martinez is a really, really interesting player. I think George Halani still is people forget this is the guy who Ashton Genty was sitting behind, was backing up in college. He's really talented. There's a chance Kenny McIntosh doesn't make it. So those are the two that kind of come to mind for me. I'm curious. I'll give you one more that I don't know if this would be a surprise for people, is Mike Morris. So I think Mike Morris has not had the year that we've wanted from him yet. And I think, congrats to him. I think they got married. He and his fiance got married this offseason. Is he going to come back physically where he needs to be like to earn a spot? Because he lost his role last year when they traded for Roy Robertson Harris. So he is a guy, I don't know if that'd be a surprise to some folks, but he's a guy I was very high on and just has not necessarily lived up to that so far.
So let's go. Some background with Mike Morris. Mitch has got a habit of our pre-draft pods where he will pick 1 or 2 players that are Seahawks players. He called Mike Morris. He called AJ Barner, and who was it this year? Torrey Horton. And Torrey Horton as well.
So he called Eminori as well. Yeah.
Yeah. So Mike Morris going would be like a dagger to the heart. But we've had this conversation on this pod where you would anticipate Mike McDonald knows what to do with him, having coached him at Michigan. But he just doesn't seem to be able to get on the field or in the rotation, which means that there is something intrinsically wrong there, whether he's not up to scratch with it or he's just not getting it. There's better people ahead of him. Can he be changed to another position? We don't know. Sorry, Mitch, I had to put that in there.
You've led me on nicely. You've led me on nicely. I was just going to say that, I mean, his development's been massively stunted by injuries, and the players that are starting have performed to a really high level. When you look at when we drafted him, our D-line was not stopping the run. We had real problems getting after the passer and creating pressure. we've now got a really good D line that is probably one of the possibly top 5 in the league in terms of pressures. They need to get home more on sacks, but defending the run now, they're very, very good too. Mike Morris, to get into that now, needs to stay fit, soak up the snaps he can, and get up to speed in the NFL and get back on track. He's got the best coach for it, but the opportunity is drying up in front of him, I think. So it will be a shame, but I could see it happening.
Yeah, I think you hit on it in the right way. The injuries certainly have affected. When I talked to Mike last year, he was still trying to get his confidence back as well. But even once he was out there playing for the first half of that year, he was getting 15, 20 snaps, which is meaningful numbers for a defensive line, rotational player. His play strength just isn't there. And so he needs, he's a guy that absolutely needs to be one of those guys you're like, wow, he's really had an off season that changed his body, or he's feeling much stronger. I'm not sure I've seen that from the images I've seen so far. Those are just images, but I'll have to see and I'll have to talk to him. But he and Anthony Bradford are two guys that need, if they want to resurrect their careers, they need to take their preparation in the weight room to I think a different level.
Yeah. These become serious, especially when you hit the pros now with the competition we've got. With mentioning those and the surprise cut candidates, one last topic we've got: key position battles. So out of the whole roster, you can give us 2 if it's easier, or because I know there's going to be some everywhere, but what positions are you going to be looking at the most to have these battles?
Well, I mean, it shouldn't come as no surprise that the offensive line in general, there's a few spots there that are going to make or break this team. I'm assuming Gray Zabel is going to start at left guard. I assume obviously Abe Lucas and Charles Cross have locked down the tackle positions. Those other 2 positions are going to be absolutely key, and I think right guard is the one of all position battles on the whole roster that it's going to have a huge impact on how this team plays out. And whether it's Christian Haynes proving that he was worth a 3rd-round pick last year, better fit for his strengths in this zone scheme, whether it's Satawa Lamea, who I loved how he came on and played with such physicality and emotion last year and really helped the run game, whether it's Bryce Cabledew, maybe Anthony Bradford, has a resurrection, who knows? But there's a lot of potential guys that could be a fit there. And so that one to me is huge. Obviously center as well between Olu Oluwatimi and Jalen Sundell. I think most people assume it's just going to be Olu, but I know that the team really thinks highly of Jalen Sundell, and I wouldn't be surprised if he ends up starting next to his college roommate, Gray Zabel. So I think those are 2 that definitely jump off for me. Another one to kind of watch, I don't know if I'd call it a battle, but it kind of fits into your surprise cuts. It's different than a cut, though. If Elijah Arroyo, AJ Barner, and then another guy, whether it's Saubert or Callerup, look really good, I just continue to think Noah Fant's not a necessary part of this roster or the salary cap setup that they've got right now. So depending on what happens in that tight end room, I think you could see some shuffling there. So it's not as much a battle as a pretty key position that could affect a lot of other things. I think those are the ones that really jump out. You could talk about some stuff on defense, but most things are settled there. Other than maybe the other cornerback position, and maybe you can talk about some of the safety stuff.
Yeah, perfect. I think the cornerback is something that we've been speaking about a lot. I know you said that Tariq Woolen is obviously up there. I have a love-hate relationship with Reek.
You're not alone.
I know. And it usually generates quite a bit of conversation on this pod. The safety battle, I think, dependent on sort of who comes in. I heard you talk about Jarek Reed as well on your pod, who I've been very high on since him coming out of New Mexico. I think it's been absolutely... He's undervalued as a special teamer, but I've always classed him as Quandre Diggs 2.0. And I think he would give a lot of sort of flexibility within that safety room as well. When you look at the 4 that are there in Love, Brian, Imanwari, and him, So there's a lot of movement there. But I just want to say thank you so much, Brian. I don't want to keep you for too long because I know that you're trying to get out the door to go to OTAs, and that is a very important thing. But before you do go, do you want to tell everyone who may not know or may not be subscribed where they can find you and what you've got coming up?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's great being on with you guys. I'll make sure and check out some of the stuff I might have missed. But anywhere you look for your content, YouTube, Spotify, Instagram, anywhere, you just go to @HAWKBLOGGER. You'll find me there. HAWKBLOGGER.com is where I post content. And then mostly, my daily show, HAWKBLOGGER Mornings, is on there at YouTube and all those other places. And then every week, Wednesday evenings, at least in the Pacific Northwest, it's a Wednesday evening. We do Real Hawk Talk with a varying list of co-hosts. So always fun to bring those folks together. So yeah, those are the best places to find us.
Perfect. And obviously, if you're watching this, thank you very much. You can like, subscribe, hit the notification bell. You can find us on basically everything that Brian's on as well, because we are all over the podcasting and social media world at 12 Talk. But I just like to say a massive thank you for freeing up a bit of your time for us today, Brian. We really, really do appreciate it. And hopefully anyone who is watching this, if they haven't already, they'll go over and subscribe. And I know they can become a Patreon as well. Can't they, HAWKBLOGGER?
Yeah, patreon.com/HAWKBLOGGER.
There we go. But I mean, from me, from Mitch, just a massive thank you, sir. So we do like to sign off with a Go Hawks. Are you okay with signing off that way?
Absolutely.
Perfect. So we'll do it on the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. Go Hawks.
Go Hawks.